Skibidi toilets were not always like this. This is Origin Sad Story of Skibidi Toilets. Once upon a time, there was an island far from the city, isolated from the outside world. Escaping from this island was almost impossible because it was difficult to reach. There is a sanatorium on the island for people who have lost their mental health. Only the mentally ill people who were advanced and harmful to society stayed on this island. These patients could not be cured for years and lived in this hospital. A health research and application company called AIMCO bought this sanatorium for their experiments and research. AIMCO was known as a company that aimed to treat the severely mentally ill. But it was a horrific company that produced mass biological weapons and experimented on orphans. It was not known who owned AIMCO or who it worked for. They wanted to genetically modify people and turn them into an army of monsters. They were injecting people with the chemicals they had developed. If the experiments failed, they threw them into the sea. There was a doctor at the hospital, Jeremy, who specialized in genetics. Dr. Jeremy had been working for AIMCO for years and was one of the most trusted people in the company. Dr. Jeremy had made a discovery that would change human history. He created a genetic link between humans and toilets and turned it into a vaccine. They called it sanatorium and chose a patient for the first experiment. Dr. Jeremy injected the patient with sanatorium. At first, the patient did not react and lost consciousness. Then the patient's body turned into a toilet, but his head was still the same. He was unconscious and started attacking everything around him. They called him Skibidi Toilet. Security forces tranquilized and captured the Skibidi Toilet and locked him in a safe place. Dr. Jeremy was so scared. This thing could be the end of humanity. AIMCO had achieved its aim. They had finally invented a biological weapon. With sanatorium, they could create an army and have everything. Dr. Jeremy thought his discovery would bring about the end of humanity. That's why he thought no one should have it and should be destroyed. AIMCO's top executives held a meeting with Dr. Jeremy. The executives asked Jeremy for a dozen Skibidi toilets. Dr. Jeremy had to accept it because he was afraid of the executives. Jeremy thought differently from them and came up with a plan to destroy the sanatorium once and for all. He went to his room at night and couldn't sleep all night. Until today, he thinks about the people he caused to die for the sake of experiments. And now maybe the world was about to end. The next day, Dr. Jeremy and his team assembled in the lab. They were preparing to build a dozen Skibidi toilets. Dr. Jeremy was afraid because his plan could get him killed. Security forces brought a dozen mental patients to the lab. Dr. Jeremy prepared the sanatorium and filled the syringe. He was about to inject the patient, but Dr. Jeremy threw the syringe on the floor and it broke. The security forces immediately arrested Jeremy. Jeremy was laughing because the sanatorium on the floor could no longer be used. But there was something Jeremy didn't know. Dr. Jeremy's team had secretly produced sanatorium. The guards tied Jeremy to the bed. Doctors injected Jeremy with sanatorium. Dr. Jeremy was no longer human. He was a Skibidi toilet.